This is my third video lecture on the novel Waiting for the Mahatma, written by R.K. Narayan. In this video lecture, I shall talk about the character of Sri Ram. You should remember that the character of Sri Ram is the most important character in this novel because he symbolizes man. The question arises, what kind of man? Not that man who is self-realized, who has gained self-knowledge, but as the common man, as the ordinary man, who travels a distance of transformation, who gains experiences and reforms himself, and at a point reaches self-realization or real self-knowledge. To understand the character of Sri Ram, we should keep in mind the fact that Sri Ram is a person who is alienated from himself. He suffers from a condition that has been called self-estrangement. Existentialists like Sartre and Kierkegaard have talked about these things in the European context. Something like those symptoms which existentialist philosophers talked about are found in the character of Sri Ram. For example, he is a man who doesn't define himself. It means that he is not self-confident. He suffers from what is called inauthenticity. He is not ready to take decisions regarding himself. We can say his meaning of life is determined by the other. When he is a child, his life is defined by his granny. Then Bharati comes as the definer of his life. Then Jagdish comes. Gandhi is also who defines his life. It means that Sri Ram is a person who gets confirmation that he is on the right path from others. Others people take decision from their own points of view for Sri Ram. Sri Ram doesn't take decision for himself. He is not self-confident. He suffers from an alienation from himself. There are other characters in the novels of Sri Ram and R.K. Narayan who suffer from this problem. For example, the novel Guide has the protagonist Raju, who is also something like that. Then there are other characters like Srinivas of Mr. Sampath. He also falls in the same category. But in this lecture, I am concerned with Sri Ram because Sri Ram is a very good example to illustrate the point that he symbolizes a person who is defined by others, starting with his granny, moving on to Mahatma Gandhi and Bharati, succumbing to the vague revolutionary ideals of the photographer Jagdish, and then returning to his love of Bharati. Remember that Sri Ram gains meaning only in the context of others. Someone tells him that you are right. It means that the source of happiness for Sri Ram is not Sri Ram himself, but others. Other persons at different points of time. Granny, Gandhi, Bharati, and Jagdish. Yes, it is toward the end of the novel that he gains self-knowledge, when he sees the beauty the ultimate beauty, the sublime beauty of the soul of Bharti when he sees her as a caring mother for the orphans. Then he realizes that the real source of happiness, the real source of fulfillment is this knowledge that man's life is to care for others, to sacrifice oneself is the real meaning of life. But this realization, this self knowledge, doesn't come suddenly. Sri Ram has to travel a distance of many experiences, many stages of life before reaching this sense of self fulfillment, self realization, or self knowledge. The character of Sri Ram becomes a round character, to use the word of Ian Forster. It becomes a round character through the experiences, through the stages which he gains. He evolves. Sri Ram evolves as a character. And this is the chief interesting thing in the character of Sri Ram. We should be, we should keep this in mind that here is a character who evolves from, we can say, alienation to self-fulfillment, from entrusting his life to others, from taking the command of his life at the end of the life, at the end of the novel. This is the real point of the character of the novel, at the character of Sri Ram, that experiences teach you that sudden revelation of truth is not possible for the common man. The common man suffers. The suffering continues for a considerable amount of time. And after that, the real knowledge dawns upon man. And then man becomes self fulfillment. And this comes through many kinds of experiences. The critic Tavish Khair suggests in one of his papers that the title Waiting for the Mahatma has been influenced by Samuel Beckett's novel, Samuel Beckett's drama, Waiting for Godot. It may be possible. But there is a real difference between that novel, between that drama and this novel. The title may have the word waiting here also, but we all know that in Beckett's Godot, the characters of the drama wait for someone who is vague, who doesn't arrive. And the place of waiting is also not defined. Everything is hazy. Everything is meaningless. Everything is in the air. There is no solidity either in the characters, in the waiting. And the waiting is endless. The waited for doesn't arrive. That was in the context of Europe. That was in the context of Europe. That drama was written in the context of Europe to define the socio-cultural and the individual condition of the European modern man. Absurdity of European life, absurdity of every action. The very life has been turned absurd. The important act of waiting for someone turns out to be meaningless. Nobody arrives. The waiting is useless, utterly useless. This is the symbol of the absurd life. But here, the waiting is not fruitless, neither it is endless. And the place of waiting is not vague. It is well defined in the environments or in the environs of a well-defined place, a beautiful place, Malgudi. And Bharti and Sri Ram are waiting not for something or someone vague or hazy. Here, the thing that is waited for is the permission of a spiritual father figure, Mahatma Gandhi. And that permission arrives and life becomes meaningful. This is the dissimilarity, the great dissimilarity between the European treatment of waiting and the Indian treatment of waiting. There in Europe, nothing fructifies. Everything is absurd and meaningless. Everything is hazy, vague. There is no solidity. But here, everything is solid. Everything is rooted in the cultural life of the Indian soil. This is the big difference. Here, there is no absurdity. Yes, there is waiting. Waiting is a means of getting experience. Here, waiting is a pilgrimage. At the end of the pilgrimage, God will be revealed. The beauty of the human soul will be revealed. This is the difference between R.K. Narayan's treatment of waiting and Beckett's treatment of waiting. And this difference has been concretized in the novel through the character of Sri Ram. That is why, from the examination point of view, as well as from the point of view of knowledge of characters in Indian English fiction, particularly R.K. Narayan, the character of Sri Ram should be understood in a proper manner. And that proper manner is to understand Sri Ram as a man on a journey of experiences culminating into self-realization through seeing the beauty of human soul. Sri Ram doesn't get a revelation of any god or goddess. He gains the experience of the beauty of the soul in the form of Bharati. And through Bharati, the teaching of Gandhi. The character of Sri Ram is important in the sense to understand modern man also, modern Indian man, not the European man. To understand on this basis the difference between the European idea of waiting and the Indian idea of waiting. And a few novelists can communicate it better than R.K. Narayan, because every critic, Srinivas Iyengar or Narasimhaiah or Tavish Khair or many others and common readers agree on this point, that R.K. Narayan is a novelist who is deeply rooted in the Indian cultural soil. All the characters have sprung up from his very deep understanding of Indian selfhood. And Sri Ram is a very beautiful expression of that selfhood. Through this lecture, I tried to communicate the idea that the character of Sri Ram represents the common fate of Indians. And that common fate is that a spiritual realization doesn't come suddenly. It arrives through experiences. You have to suffer. You have to go through different stages. You have to gain experiences that are mostly bitter to taste the sweetest fruit at the end of your journey. And that fruit is you realize your whole personality. You realize that your meaning lies in yourself. And that self is defined as the self which enjoys sacrificing for others, giving service for others, caring for others. This is the spiritual realization which Sri Ram gets at the end of life. So here, the journey of Sri Ram is the journey from alienation to self-fulfillment, from self-estrangement to self-realization. So keep these things in mind. Try to write these things in your notebook, and you will know that you have understood the character of Sri Ram in a good manner. Thank you.